Tomorrow we have a quiz, and that quiz is on the three sections, 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3. This is the third section. It's really all on solving inequalities. So I highly recommend you complete all three worksheets, 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3. Study all of them, understand all the questions on all three worksheets, because that's what's going to be exactly the same as tomorrow's quiz. I'm talking cut and paste. So these are multi-step problems. It's really easy to do. Let's check out number 3, for example. If you want to solve this thing, you want to get b by itself, so you would subtract 4. Subtract 4. By the way, you could skip numbers 1 and 2. You don't have to do those. You're going to end up with a new inequality that says negative 2b is greater than negative 10. And of course, you could get rid of the negative 2 by dividing by negative 2, dividing by negative 2. Now, again, we just divided by a negative, so the inequality has to flip because we divided by a negative, and you end up with a positive 5 right there, so b is less than 5. You guys got it? So, if you look at these other ones, they're a little bit more complicated. What do you guys like to see? Let's take a look at number 10. So number 10, you want to solve for p, and normally step 1 is to simplify either the left side or the right side. And in this case, there is no distributive property on the left side, there's no distributive property on the right side, there's no combining like terms, it's ready to solve. So you want to get p by itself on one side. Where's the p at? Is it on the left side of the inequality or the right side? It's on both sides. So you want to get rid of one of them. I'm going to get rid of the 3p by subtracting 3p. Now you don't have to get rid of the 3p, but I'm getting rid of the 3p by subtracting 3p. And what I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 3p over here. My new inequality is going to be negative 1p plus 5 is greater than or equal to negative 10. Now, I still need to get the p by itself, so I still need to subtract 5 and subtract 5. And negative 10, take away 5 is negative 15. So I'm going to have a new inequality that says negative 1p, the greater than or equal to just comes down. I'm not dividing by a negative, I'm subtracting 5. And I get a negative 15. So now at this point, all I need to do is get rid of that negative 1 by dividing by negative 1. And it's going to cancel. What you do to one side, you do to the other by dividing by negative 1. And you really do end up with p, but since we divided by a negative, you have to flip that inequality symbol, so it becomes a less than or equal to positive 15. So p is less than or equal to positive 15. By the way, all of these answers are on the back side of this worksheet. So you can just flip it over and check your answers as you go. Now, let's go for a little bit more challenging one. Let's say one that requires simplification, like number 13 right here. Okay, number 13 requires simplification. So, could you simplify anything on the left side? Yeah, there's distributive property, so let's do that. Negative 6 times w, that's negative 6w. Negative 6 times 1, that's negative 6. Then over here, 2 times w, that's 2w. And 2 times 5, that is 10. Now that inequality symbol is going to come down, because you didn't multiply or divide everything by a negative. Okay? So let's continue solving this. I need to get the w's by itself on one side, and they're obviously on both sides of this inequality. So I want to get rid of the 2w by subtracting 2w. And of course, whatever I do to one side, I'm going to do to the other, subtract 2w. I end up with the new inequality that says negative 8w. Bring down the minus 6, bring down the less than, bring down the 10. There's my new inequality in black. I need to get w by itself on one side. Now w is already on the left side, I need to get it by itself. So I am going to get rid of the minus 6 by doing the opposite, plus 6. That'll cancel it out. What I do to one side, I must do to the other. So I'm going to have a negative 8w. I'm going to have a less than symbol and 16. So for my final step, I am going to divide by negative 8. Now, since I said final step and since I'm dividing by a negative, that should remind everybody that you have to flip the inequality symbol. So W is greater than, instead of less than, -2 would be your final answer. W is greater than -2. Again, we flip this inequality symbol because we divided by a negative on both sides. If this would have been a +8, I would have divided by +8, I wouldn't flip it. But because I'm dividing by a -8, dividing by a negative, that means I need to flip that inequality symbol and make it the other way. Make it point in the other direction. Let's jump to this section down here because I will be selecting, I want to end the quiz with some of these guys right here. And if you go back and look at the other worksheets also, there also are word problems in the other worksheets. Please review those because I want to select a couple from each one. Now, these aren't difficult. All you got to do is understand what you're reading and write it as you go. So if we take a look at number 15, it says, let's start with the first couple of words. 4 more than. What does that mean to you? 4 more than. Add. You're going to be adding 4. So if I say 4 more than your age, are you going to go 4 plus your age, or are you going to go your age plus 4? Your age plus 4, exactly. So 4 more than something, okay? Now, what is that something? 4 more than, let's think about this, the quotient of a number and 3. Okay, so here's the something. So once again, 4 more than something is really taking what's in blue, which is the quotient of a number and 3. What does that really mean? The quotient is a division of a number which is x, and 3, there's your quotient of a number and 3. Now when we say 4 more, that means you need to add 4 to it. Does that make sense? Okay, now let's look at the final part of this sentence. It says, is at least 9. Okay, this might confuse some people. Is at least 9. What if you're at a Disneyland and you want to get your little brother on a ride and they say, oh no, he has to be at least 9 years old. What does that mean? 9 or over, right? So what this is saying is that this has to be at least 9. So you guys just said this has to be 9 or over. What does that mean in terms of an inequality? Well, here's a 9. But what does it mean in terms of an inequality? This is what compared to 9? Greater than or equal to. That's right. Greater than or equal to. And ladies and gentlemen, that is your inequality that you still need to solve. Okay? So on the quiz tomorrow, I'm not going to give you a point for this. Actually, I don't even want this written down. You're going to write this down on maybe some scratch paper, and then you're going to solve it and get your answer, and that's what you're going to write as an answer on the answer spot. Let me rewrite this over here. This is a x over 3 plus 4 is greater than or equal to 9. So how would I solve this? Subtract 4, cancels. X over 3 greater than or equal to 5. And then, how do I solve that? Multiply by 3. Multiply by 3. 3's cancel. I don't flip anything. It's just x is greater than or equal to 15. That's your answer for number 15, guys. You got it? Let's pick another one to review. Taking a look at the rest of these, which one would you like to see? Number 20. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it says 4 times the sum of a number and 2 increased by 3 is at least 27. Now, I'll be honest with you. When I read this really long sentence, I get confused. So what we need to do is just read one piece of it, understand it, and write something down. So when we say 4 times, do we know what that means? 4 times. What does that mean, 4 times? That means 4 multiplication, right? Okay, now 4 times what? We're talking about 4 times the sum of a number and 2. So when I say the sum of a number and 2, what are we really talking about? I'm talking about addition. And I want to put this in parentheses. The sum of a number and 2. What's a number and 2? X plus 2. Yeah, put a number and 2. That's the sum of a number and 2. X plus 2. So once again, 4 times, it's right here. The sum is right here. A number and 2 is right there. So we've read something, we wrote it down, now we're going to continue reading. What does this next part say? It says increase by 3. What does that mean? Plus 3. You're going to take this whole thing right here and you're going to increase it by 3 by just putting a plus 3 at the very end. And now for the answer part, is at least 27. If you have to be at least 27, what does that mean? Greater than or equal to, right? At least 27, greater than or equal to. So if for some reason they change the law of buying alcohol, you have to be at least 27. That means you could be 27 or greater than 27. So at least 27 means greater than or equal to, okay? So we're going to go greater than or equal to. That's the at least part right there. And 27 is just 27 over here at the very end. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the correct inequality. All we need to do now is solve that inequality. So I need to focus in on the left side of the inequality. Let me distribute first. So I want to go 4 times x, that's 4x. I want to go 4 times 2, that's positive 8. I want to bring down the plus 3 that's right there, and I want to bring down everything else to be greater than or equal to 27. Now on the left side, I could still combine the 8 plus 3 in my head. I don't need to do anything opposite. I just need to continue working right there. So 8 plus 3 is 11. I want to have 4x plus 11 is greater than or equal to 27. So my next step would be, let me get some more space here. I need to subtract 11. It's going to cancel. Subtract 11. I'm going to get 16. So I'm going to have a new inequality, 4x greater than or equal to 16. Final step would be to divide by 4. Divide by 4. I'm not dividing by a negative, so I don't flip anything. So my answer is x is greater than or equal to 4. You got it? So what am I going to ask you to write as an answer? Not the whole equation or not the whole inequality, just the answer that you get once you solve it. So hopefully you guys could read it, come up with the inequality, solve it correctly, and just give me the answer. X is greater than or equal to 4. Now, if you just put x equals 4, I can't give you full credit. So make sure you get it right. Any other one that you guys would like to see? Pick one. 16, 17, 18, or 19?
19.
15. We already did 15. 18.
19.
So please be sure to study your 3 worksheets. Study this video. It'll be posted on Edmodo, especially the questions we covered on this video, to get you ready for the quiz tomorrow. Instead of looking at other word problems from that worksheet, let's go back to worksheet 5.2. And I'm telling you this right now because this is a review of tomorrow's quiz. I'm going to pick, I like these guys right here. Matching. Or you got to identify what it says and match it. Of course, I want to throw in some easy questions like these down here. But I will pick at least one of the bottom ones. The bottom ones are good. So let's go ahead and pick one of these guys.
24.
26. Why not? It says negative 1/6 of a number is less than 9. Negative 1/6 of a number is less than negative 9. That's it. All you got to do is solve it now. So you go times 6, cancels, times 6. You're going to have negative 1x is less than negative 54. Final step would be to divide by negative 1, divide by negative 1. So your final answer will be x. Flip the symbol because you divided by a negative, positive 54. I'm also going to be picking from section 5.1. So you have 3 worksheets. I like these guys again because it's matching. Are you able to solve it and see what the graph looks like that represents your answer? I also like these down here. Like, for example, let's pick one. Looking at number 11, the sum, that means add. And what are you going to be adding? You're going to say a number and 17. Okay, so put x plus 17 is no less than 26. It can't be less than 26. It could be greater than 26. So we need to say that it's greater than or equal to 26. Okay, so keep that in mind. No less than means it cannot be less, which means that it could be 26 or it could be greater. That's why we have a greater than or equal to sign right here. And if you solve it, minus 17, you'll get x is greater than or equal to 9.